It's time for the Wrestling Observer Extra.
I said one more time for old time's sake.
With Dave Meltzer, right here on The Law. Live audio wrestling.
And let's go. We're now smoking with the best.
All right, continuing on, it is the post-Rumble show here on The Law. We watched it. We gave you some of our thoughts. You guys have been calling in, but now let's go to the editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're all right. Dave, before we get into giving you our opinion, overall, tonight, Rumble, what did you think?
I thought it was one of the best pay-per-views they've ever done, especially the Owens match and the Cena match. I mean, you got to go back a long time to have two matches of that good on the same pay-per-view. That was, and nothing, as far as the pay-per-view portion, I thought everything was good on the pay-per-view portion, and even with the pre-show, you know, except for the Nia Jax and Sasha Banks match, everything was fairly good there, too.
What about some of the booking in the Rumble itself, though, Dave? Like, to me, I'm blown away how they treated Lesnar in this. I just thought after we'd already seen him get squashed once and then basically get squashed again tonight, I'm like, I'm not interested in seeing that match after what they did tonight.
Well, I'm sure knowing Lesnar and everything that they laid that out. I mean, their idea, you know, at the end of this, Lesnar is going to, you know, get his revenge, and so they're making Goldberg as strong as possible before that revenge comes. That's the mentality, I think.
Or is it also plus because Goldberg is going to have a main event match probably at Fastlane?
Yeah. I think that's part of it too. Is that they wanted, since Goldberg wasn't going to win the Rumble, I think they felt that they needed to make him look super strong because Goldberg. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be Goldberg and Kevin Owens as the main event at Fastlane.
But again, wouldn't it have been made a little bit more sense to have Lesnar maybe come in a lot earlier and clear some guys out first before you just have him get tossed out as soon as he gets in there?
Yeah, he could have come. He could have been in there a little bit longer, but I think the idea is they only wanted him to throw people. They wanted him to throw some people around, suplex everyone, and then get out of there. No downtime.
Right.
You know, like everything he does is impact. I think that's the idea. And if you're in for a long time, then you start standing around. And I think that, you know, they didn't want him being one of those guys who's just kind of standing around. And you can only throw out so many guys. You know, I mean, some of the guys had to be left to be thrown out by Braun Strowman.
Surprised, actually, at your response tonight, Dave. We've had a lot of feedback on the show so far, a lot of callers not very happy about tonight's show, missing a few things that they were looking forward to seeing. And, of course, when you involve Roman Reigns in the Rumble, that automatically sours people. In my opinion, there was a big drag in the middle of the actual Rumble where it got kind of congested and they could have used a spot there. And then at the end, to me, it just looked like damage control by putting in effect the anyone but Reigns in order to get Orton the pop.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the reason, and that was the idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that the guys, if you know where they're going, I mean, I was watching it going like, how are they going to get to where they're going? And I thought that they laid everything out real well. Other than, I would say that I was very disappointed. I don't say very disappointed, but I was disappointed that there was nothing with Jerry Lawler, and I don't understand why they did that angle if they did no payoff.
Right.
And put him at ringside as well, because immediately you had suspicions with him being down there.
Right. He was there for Dolph Ziggler, and it's like, you know, and they set the thing up. So I don't know why they didn't follow up on that. And then you know, I was disappointed there was nothing with Seth Rollins and Triple H. I thought that what they did on Saturday night was good, but I thought that it felt like you needed something here. And obviously, for whatever reason, Triple H, I don't know when he's going to come back to television.
Well, I'm guessing tomorrow. I would think they're going to deal with this on tomorrow's Raw. Would they not?
They pushed that Stephanie McMahon was going to confront him, so maybe that's where Triple H returns.
Yeah, I would think so. One of the things I love about the Rumble, though, Dave, every year, and I don't know if they didn't do this because you had a bunch of older guys at the end of the Rumble, but we didn't get to see any kind of, you know, old school guys return, even if it's just for a quick thing like The Godfather or something.
Right. Yeah. I think that that was probably a spot that Ty Dillinger got, maybe.
Right. I'm wondering
maybe I'm trying to think that who would have been thrown in there late that would have been a change. I mean, because Reigns, I'm sure, was always in the plans.
Mm-hmm.
So probably, I mean, Dillinger they did to placate the audience.
Right.
I don't think there was any other reason for that. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It got a great pop. It got one of the biggest pops of the show. So.
Well, and speaking of that, Dave, do you think anything comes out of this for Ty Dillinger, or does he just go back to NXT, or do you think he moves up to the roster from this?
I don't know, but my feeling, which could be dead wrong, my feeling from watching it was that he's going to go back to NXT. I just didn't think that it was done with like enough of an impact or anything that where they set up an angle for him. They didn't. Since they didn't do that, it was almost like, well, it's nice that you placated the audience, but it felt like he really didn't have any purpose. So that means he'd probably go back to NXT because in NXT he was a headliner.
And the other one too, I found funny that wasn't there was Kane. It always Kane to me just seems like a Royal Rumble staple. He should be in every year. I think.
Maybe he hasn't been around for a while, so maybe he's taking time off. Because I was thinking when Mark Henry came out, that the first thing I was thinking is, wow, Mark Henry, but what about Kane?
Yeah.
Well, it was in Texas, so Mark Henry definitely made sense to have his last Rumble in Texas.
Yeah, it could be his last Rumble.
Looking forward now to the 2 bumps in the road pay-per-views that we get before WrestleMania. We talked about the fact that Goldberg looks to be main eventing. That is going to be a Kevin Owens match. Do you see Goldberg having the gold going into Mania for a title program with Lesnar? Is that the direction?
So.
Yep.
Think so.
Okay.
Think so. They even brought it up. He's going here for the championship.
Mm-hmm.
And put it this way, I can't see him wrestling Kevin Owens and not. The only finishes are that either wins the title or Lesnar screws him out of the title. I can't see any other finish as possible.
Then on the other side of things, we have the Elimination Chamber coming up. Does this end with John Cena losing the belt that he just got so it can get into the hands of Bray Wyatt?
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, because you don't want. You can't do Orton and Cena.
I would say, put it this way, if it doesn't happen, then it was because they changed their mind, because it's so clear that, I had heard that was the plan, and everything tonight confirmed that, so it would and I don't see any reason to change that. So the one thing is though, like John Cena, like they didn't make that big of a deal of the record being tied at all after all that time, which surprised me, and also the fact that if he's going to win the title and set the record, that it's a 2-week reign almost makes it like I almost wouldn't have done it. I mean, if it wasn't going to be a bigger deal.
Well, that's the thing. It's the way they're booking it, Dave. It looks to me like there's going to be a lot of title flipping in the next couple of months.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
NXT was last night, the TakeOver show. Overall, this one kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but we did have some big events that transpired, one of them being Bobby Roode taking the title away from Nakamura. And I'm guessing we get a rematch here, or is this saying goodbye to Nakamura and up to the main roster?
Well, we'll know on Wednesday, but I think that they're still going to be continuing the program because they didn't set anybody up for Bobby Roode. The only guy who won underneath was Roderick Strong, and it didn't feel like that was the kind of a win. Like they didn't talk when Roderick Strong won that he was getting he's looking for the championship or anything like that. So I think that Roderick Strong, they'll probably give him about 3 months to build, and maybe Nakamura stays through, WrestleMania and maybe debuts at WrestleMania or right after WrestleMania. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know when he's going to debut on the main roster. Obviously, it's well past due at this point.
And speaking of well past due, and this is one that we talk about constantly, and a lot of our callers tonight wanted to see him in the Rumble tonight, and that's Samoa Joe. I mean, what the hell is going on with Samoa Joe?
Maybe they just didn't want to debut him at the Rumble. Because if they do debut him at the Rumble, he would just get thrown out in some ways. But I would have debuted him at the Rumble because I think that it would make the Rumble feel a little bit more special. Maybe they felt that they had enough special stuff that they didn't need Joe in it. But I would think, just based on the fact that they took him off the last set of tapings, that Joe's ready for the main roster. I think, obviously the rumors on the SmackDown brand, and I guess hopefully it happens on Tuesday night, or at least soon enough. I mean, we need 6 guys for that Elimination Chamber, and obviously it's going to be
Cena.
I would think it'd be Orton, Wyatt, Cena, and AJ for sure.
Baron Corbin.
Maybe Corbin and one other guy, yeah.
Well,
maybe Probably not Miz and Ambrose, because it looks like Miz and Ambrose are probably going to be with each other.
John brought up the point that it doesn't make sense putting Orton into the chamber simply because he's the one who's got the shot at WrestleMania.
Maybe he doesn't go in the chamber then.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they do that just to because they have to. Right now everybody thinks that Orton and Wyatt are just fine, and Harper's the one who turned. And obviously, that's going to have to change at some point.
Yeah, that does make sense. Along with that, last night we had the Authors of Pain getting the titles there. The tag
I was surprised by that.
Over DIY. Very quick reign for DIY there. Every time someone loses a title, we ask the same question. Are they on their way up to spice up a tag division on one of the main rosters? Because the Revival's due to come up as well.
I think the Revival might come up. The Revival was supposed to work a feud with TM61, and obviously Shane Thorne had knee surgery.
Yeah.
So I could see them coming up, but I don't think that Gargano and Ciampa are going to come up because, realistically, the Authors of Pain have nobody else to wrestle. And the one thing with the Gargano and Ciampa, as we saw the other night, is they can get a good match out of them. I mean, if it's not, they're going to be feuding with Heavy Machinery, and that's four green guys, which is pretty tough on a takeover show.
That is true. Let's touch briefly on Kenny Omega. There were a lot of questions last week at this time. Kenny gave all the answers to you guys over at Wrestling Observer. So fill us in. Kenny Omega not coming WWE. Obviously wasn't there tonight, but at least another year over in New Japan?
Most likely. He said he's going over in mid-February, and he expects to sign a one-year deal and to start back with New Japan, I think, on Feb 26th. And be a key guy there. And he made a cryptic remark about a really good friend who turned down WWE, which certainly sounds like Kota Ibushi, and that they want to do, he wants to do something. And I know he said like he wants to have big singles matches with Kota Ibushi, Tanahashi, and Ishii this year.
Ooh, Ishii.
That's his goals. And those could be incredible matches.
Yeah. I would love to see him and Ishii. That would be an amazing match.
Yeah, because it's different. That's the one thing about Ishii that I really like is it's like his matches. It's a different pace than everyone else.
True.
It's so physical.
Yes.
But it's something new for a guy like Kenny Omega.
Yep, I agree.
Flipping over to the world of MMA, there's a pay-per-view to hear Conor McGregor do what he does best, and that is talk. Conor McGregor claims he's going to his next fight will be against Floyd Mayweather, and it'll be boxing. Is this realistic? Is he not under contract? Does he think he can get out of this?
He's under contract, and the contract prohibits it, and he's trying to claim that as a boxer, the Ali Act, would remove the clause that prohibits him from doing boxing. So we're going to probably end up in a court fight because I don't see UFC. Because if UFC backs off and this happens, then it's a precedent for all their contracts. And that just changes the game. Like this Conor thing, the ramifications of this Conor thing are huge. Not to mention if Conor actually fights Floyd Mayweather, it'll probably be among the biggest pay-per-views in the history of pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. And this is much like the press conference when Conor did not show up and they threw him off that card and such. It's that precedent to be set where everyone else can do the same. I've heard the Ali Act mentioned over and over again. Dave, can you just explain that?
It's a boxing legislation in the United States that it kind of restricts long-term contracts in some ways. Whereas UFC has a long-term contract, but MMA is not part of the Ali Act. So that's like his way of getting out of it. But still, it's a tough one because the Ali Act, while it says that on paper, I don't know. I mean, it's like if you sign a contract and in the contract, you're not allowed to box unless you get their permission. And then you went and boxed. It's kind of weird. But the whole thing. It's like that's why I say I think that we're headed for. I think that we're headed for some kind of a court fight, or they'll make amends and UFC will be co-promoters, which is I think what Conor wants is the idea of doing that fight, making his money, and UFC is co-promoter. That way, everything's copacetic. But then we got the question of how do we split the money because. UFC is used to taking lots of money from these pay-per-views, and Floyd Mayweather is used to making all the money on the pay-per-views, and Conor wants to make Floyd money, so it's like you're going to have, even if it's like a $4 million buy pay-per-view, which is a number Conor threw around, or a $2.5 million buy pay-per-view, which is, more realistic, but maybe it would beat that. and there's $200 million at stake. You've got three guys, three people who want a lot more of that $200 million than the $200 million even. So it's and the other thing is that with Conor is if he doesn't fight all year, UFC's going to have a bad year.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't think
sure.
there's any doubt in that. I think the Fertitas got out at the right time. Dave, we got to wrap this week, but what is coming up in the Observer?
Well, coverage of where they go next for WWE and just everything else that's going to break in the next couple of days. Don't really have any other super new things that I know of just yet that are happening, but they always seem to happen on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, they do. All right, well, look forward to that, Dave, and chatting with you next week at this same time.
Okay, have a great week.
You too. Dave Meltzer, WrestlingObserver.com is where you can find all of what he just talked about, so go check it out.